Hello and welcome to this video taking a look at an introduction to perfect AI prompting. In this short section, what we're going to look at is the importance of effective prompting if you are using AI tools and the sorts of different types of prompts that you can use and the different outputs you get and why it's so important to prompt it effectively. And over the course of this video and video series, we'll build on this, looking at the anatomy of a perfect prompt, the various different components that it will have, a formula, if you will, for creating a prompt, and also looking at all the different sorts of prompting we can use AI for, whether it's analyzing information, whether it's producing results. We'll also look at reverse engineering, we'll look at multi-prompting, all of these things which are going to help you to get the most out of large language models. So before we begin, just going to look at what prompting is and the role that you play in prompting. Essentially, in layman's terms, it's giving the AI specific instructions. AI is no different in many ways, despite what you might think of it as artificial intelligence. In many ways, it's no different from any other tool, whether it's a calculator, whether it's a piece of software, whether it is your phone and texting or whatever it might be. It's not going to do anything that you don't tell it to do. And it will do what it thinks you have told it to do. And if you have asked it a very poor prompt, it will give you a very poor response. If you give it a very good prompt, it will give you a very good response. It's a bit like that old Excel saying, garbage in, garbage out. And it's exactly the same situation for artificial intelligence and for prompting. Best of all, though, it doesn't require technical skills. It's just about how you communicate with the AI. It's a natural language processing tool. It takes instructions in natural language and it produces an output in natural language. You do not need to have advanced knowledge of how machine learning works, how computers work, how artificial intelligence works, or coding works, or anything like that. You do not need technical knowledge. It's just about how you communicate with it. And what I'm going through here is quite a universal technique. Now, of course, there are lots of different large language models, such as ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, XAI, etc. But the same formulas, the same approach works regardless of which model you are using. So I'm going to use GPT as an example, but if you use Copilot or Gemini or Claude, it doesn't matter. Follow the same principles with that. So an example of what we might use AI for and we might prompt AI with and how it can help us in our day-to-day. And a very classic example for email. I'm sure you're inundated with emails all day, every day, as most people are. Now, if you are sorting through emails in a manual way, you probably follow this process here. You check your emails one by one, you prioritize them based on what ones you think are important, and you write your responses from scratch. Now, if you're getting 10 emails an hour, this soon takes up a lot of time. Writing an email one by one takes a lot of time. Whereas if you use an AI-assisted approach to it, you can take your emails, you can post the emails into your large language model such as GPT, get draft responses in minutes there, but in reality it's seconds, and you can polish and personalize it and send it off. And in fact, if you're using, say, a tool like Gemini, which is already integrated into, say, Gmail, you can actually draft the response directly in the email itself. You don't even need to copy and paste it out of your large language model. And something else that you might need to do is process documents, review documents, analyze documents, such as reading a 30-page document for the HMRC about new tax updates, etc. Well, if you post it and upload it into an AI tool and give it the right prompts, remember, you can't just post it in and say, look at this for me and tell me what it says. If you ask the right questions, it will give you the right response, give you an instant summary For example, 5 bullet points in plain English of the most recent updates to taxation, what it means for you as an accountant. But again, you have to have the right prompts. You can't just say, look at this for me. You have to give it some instructions of what you want it to do. And just another example here of how it could help you with, say, your month-end close or whatever it might be. You've got your manual processes that you might have at the moment. You've got to export lots of data and compile your reports and format it and everything. But you can use AI to help you there as well. You can post files, you can post documents into the large language model easily and effectively. Ask it to draft narrative commentary about everything, to provide suggestions, anything that you want that is value added. You can ask it to identify anomalies that you can then double check yourself. You can ask it to provide insights. You can then build on those insights and how it could go about improving, or how the client could go about improving. For example, post in some reports and the AI identifies that there's been an increase in XYZ costs and an increase in revenue generated from these particular areas or whatever it might be. So suggest that you build on those. You can then ask it further questions. Right, I'm this client, I'm in this situation, I want to build my business by growing in these areas and reducing costs in these areas. Act as a consultant and give me some tips on how I would go about achieving that. And all of a sudden you're providing loads of value added information to your client. So just a summary of simple versus advanced prompting. These are things we're going to build on over the course of this series. And just to give you an example of what a simple prompt might be, where you're just looking for basic information. I'm not saying that a simple prompt isn't a good prompt if you only need it to do simple things, to summarize this email. Whereas an advanced prompt, what you might want to do is set the scene. You want to include a role that you're giving to the AI system, a scenario, information about the client and their client's needs, and specifying the desired outputs. And that will give you a hugely different response. It's the difference between a generic and specialist advice and a basic summary versus actionable insights. I'm just going to switch to a large language model now, just to give you a bit of a demonstration of what this means or how this looks. So you can see I've just switched to GPT, and I've got a prompt here, same as the one that was in the presentation, to please summarize this email. And this is a request for support with tax filing and document submission from a client, just a randomly generated email. And so we can just ask it to summarize this email. We just want the key takeaways from this email. So you can see it will think for a second or two, and then it will provide us with a clear summary of the email. So we can actually now just use that information to pinpoint exactly what the client is looking for. But what about a more advanced prompt, and what kind of output does that give us? Well, I've got a more advanced prompt here, and asking it to act as an accountant to write a professional email in response to a self-employed client earning £75,000 per year, who is asking whether they should incorporate. They want the pros, the cons, and a recommendation based specifically on tax efficiency. So a bit more of an advanced prompt here. And as you will see, we get a different response. You can see that it is noted that I want to draft an email, and it's giving me it in an email fashion. It's also understanding that I want the pros and the cons, and it's giving me a list. It's giving me the pros in a bullet pointed fashion, explaining as a sole trader, you pay income tax and class 2 and 4 national insurance, etc., etc. It's also giving me non-financial things such as professional perception, and a corporated business has perhaps more credibility. So it's going beyond the numbers. And it's also providing a thorough recommendation. It's even asking if you'd like to proceed, if you'd like follow-ons, etc. Now, of course, we can't just rely immediately on what that said. We'd need to double check it, and we could even just ask it to check its own sources, to be honest. But you can see that just in terms of the sheer volume of content here, even if I knew all of this off the top of my head simply by reading the email, the actual time it would take to draft this email, how quickly it's done it. So it does show you the power of using AI. So what we could clearly see there was the difference in the results based on the prompts that we had entered. And that's a theme that's going to recur through this video series, is that the different instructions provide the different results. It's not all random and hallucinated. It does what you ask it to do. So actually the responsibility is on you to ask it the right things. So just very, very quickly going to touch on the anatomy of strong prompts. We're going to build on this, but just to give you an overview of the key components of a prompt, you need to give the AI a role. Is the AI an accountant? Is it a banker? Is it an investment consultant? Is it a strategy consultant? The role you give it to play will affect the outcome that it provides, because it will act as an accountant or it will act as a consultant. You need to specifically give it a task and give it a specific outcome of what you want to have achieved by the end of its output. Give it all relevant background information, so information about the client's position, about the capabilities of your organization, etc. And also the style of the output as well. Do you want it in a report format? Do you want it as an email? What sort of tone do you want? Do you want something that's formal, something that's more informal, something that is marketing type content, etc.? So that's what makes a good prompt. And as you've already seen from what we have covered from the outputs we got from those questions we asked GPT, you can clearly see the benefits of it. The hours tasks can be turned into minutes. Assuming all that information in that email that we just created was correct, how long would it have taken us to go off and find all that information, to analyze that client, to provide and draft that response, to then proofread it, to check spelling and grammar, which of course is just done by the AI model now? It can turn hour-long tasks into minutes. And this will also allow us for more consistent client communications, because you might have people in your organization who are great with clients and some who are not very good. But if you use an AI model that's been programmed to be very friendly, to be very polite, etc., and everyone is using that, then you're going to have that consistent communication regardless of which accountant is actually dealing with that client. By getting AI tools to take care of a lot of the admin, you can then shift your focus onto more value-added work, adding more value to your firm. And if a firm as a whole truly embraces AI and implements it across the board, then you're going to have a more agile, more responsive firm that can do more work in a shorter space of time. So lots of clear benefits for using AI.